Powered by Riverside FM.
Deep in the hollows of Appalachia, where the mountains whisper secrets, legends come to life. This week we're diving into the heart of Appalachia to uncover the region's most captivating folk tales. We'll explore the mysteries, the legends, and the enduring power of storytelling. Tonight on Newsworthy, 2 words and 2 question marks.
Hello, I'm Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. Tax season is upon us. Did you know that 47% of Americans are planning to use their tax refunds for everyday expenses, home improvements, and vacations? What if you used your tax refund for a new home instead? Again, this is Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. Your tax refund can be used towards down payment, closing costs, or paying down existing debt to help get approved. So before you spend that tax refund, let's get together and see how to best utilize those funds to invest in your future and your new home. Call or text me at 502-680-0953. Again, that's 502-680-0953. NMLS ID 448908, Das Acquisitions LLC, doing business as USA Mortgage, NMLS ID 227262. This is not a commitment to lend. Additional terms and conditions apply. USA Mortgage is an equal housing lender.
He's alive! Have you checked the children? Get out!
You have scoured the podcast world and finally found us, Newsworthy with Steve and Jerry, where we delve into all things mysterious, macabre, or out of this world, and decide if they are truly newsworthy. 2 words and 2 question marks.
I tell you what, boys,
I kind of like that.
I don't like soccer much, but they know how to rock a stadium.
It gets me a little pumped up.
Yeah. Welcome to Newsworthy tonight. I'm Steve.
Jerry.
And Brett.
We are happy to have you here with us. We got a great topic tonight. I'm excited as we continue to try to improve.
Yeah.
By the way, we were going to include a little more descriptive parts to the introduction, but Steve vetoed that. I have no idea why.
We did, because at some point Jerry's grandkids are going to listen to this, and I'm pretty sure he didn't want to hear that.
Or maybe they do.
You never know.
Woo,
Hey, Grandpa.
Oh, man.
That was your all's week.
Oh, busy, man. Busy week.
That's good.
I'm excited about this weather.
Oh, nice.
I mean, today was what, like mid to high 60s?
No, it hit the 70s.
Really?
Low
So
70s,
I mean, it was just beautiful here.
It
in
was
Kentucky.
absolutely gorgeous for February.
Yeah, after we've been through 2 months of just 20-degree weather.
And more snow than I remember in
More
this area in forever.
Ever. I mean, I don't remember ever having this much snow.
Yeah. It started early back in December, and it's just, been more snow than I remember in a long time. Yeah. I had some good news this week, and some that I thought was going to be good that ended up not so well. My wife is always trying to get me to go somewhere new.
Oh.
The other day, she invited me to go to this new bar. It's called Pillar of Salt.
Really?
Yeah. Looking back, it's a huge mistake. For the non-religious, should we give a...
Yeah, just as quick.
If you have no idea what that means and is related to, and you would like to know, Genesis, I think it's chapter 19, the story of Lot, when they were escaping Sodom and Gomorrah. Look it up. Then you will understand.
Yeah. I was reading something this week about a king that existed. He was only 12 inches tall.
12 inches? Sure.
Yeah. He was apparently a terrible king, but a great ruler.
Oh. Yeah. My grandsons would so love that.
Wow.
Damn sleep.
Really? I didn't get a laugh out of you. I didn't get a cackle.
That was good.
It's
Really,
a classic dad joke.
very much so.
Wow.
gonna-
Okay.
Hey,
You didn't have
Sarah's
one.
on.
You're quiet because you're looking one up right now, aren't you?
No.
I know you way too well.
No. I'm trying to behave. I'm trying to give our clients. I'm still in
Our
work mode
clients.
here. I'm trying to give our listeners just the best that they can get. Okay, the best show that they can get. You had a whole week to look up a joke, and you came up with that. It's okay.
Oh my
It's
God.
all right, Brett.
All right, let's hear yours.
Yes.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
We're
Just
waiting with bated breath.
What are you talking about?
Your joke.
You're trying to give him the best, and you're putting his. We can't wait to hear yours.
Mine is wonderful. We'll
Okay.
get to it in a bit, though.
Okay.
It's fine.
Did you have a good week?
I did. It's been a busy week. I can't really go into details because, of reasons, but I will say that this week, two of my careers cross paths, and I am able to help a very special young lady out of a really bad situation, and it
Good.
makes me
That's awesome.
very happy. I wish I could tell you more. I know that's a bad teaser, but
Privacy rules mean you have
Right.
to protect some things. We get it. We get it.
but to say that I have been able to change the direction of a person's life is not an understatement in this case.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So I'm very
Well,
excited.
assuming it's in the right direction.
It is.
I knowing you, I know that's not the question that needs to be said. or
Right.
asked. Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah, it made me very good. I do the nonprofit thing, and it's okay, it's fun or whatever. My particular position is very much data entry, though, and it is for me eye-rakingly boring. I'm an outgoing type person. I like to go, and I am. Being a desk jockey has got me, what's the word? Stir crazy. Yeah. So,
That being said, if anybody's looking for a house, Steve is a fantastic realtor. He'll take care of it.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yes,
Me and
he
Jerry
is.
can both attest to that.
Very much so.
I very much
so.
appreciate that.
Have you still not found a dad joke yet?
I found so many dad jokes. What are you talking
That's
about?
exactly. He's stalling.
He big time.
I'm not stalling.
Every
You
time
are
we look,
stalling.
he's over here scrolling like crazy.
Scrolling on his
phone.
phone.
I'm not stalling for a joke. I mean, good gravy.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Just to give you some more time.
I don't need more time. Listen,
Okay.
Jerry, this is for you.
Okay.
Where can you buy secondhand shrimp?
Secondhand shrimp.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Where?
I don't
At
know
a
what
prawn shop.
I like.
That
You
was
finally
one of your
did yourself proud.
one of your better ones.
It was. I love that. Prawn chop. I got it.
If you,
I shouldn't have been so shellfish with the joke, huh?
Oh, even a decent
You should have
comeback.
just kept the prawn. The prawn shop. You should have skipped it at that. If y'all missed our Twitch, we were talking about Smoking Gun Beef Jerky, one of our new sponsors. We tried several different versions. I think me and Jerry like the Devil's Heat the most.
Very much so.
Steve loved what was the what was that one called?
No. There ain't no need lying. Steve's a pansy.
Complete Idiot.
Steve
Complete
is a
idiot.
pansy when it comes
Steve
to heat.
loved it.
No, thank
No,
you.
but Steve actually said that and actually tried the extreme garlic was very good as well. So
Y'all haven't tried that? Did you try it?
I did not.
I tried it. So
I'm sure it's good.
Cryptid 10. Use that and you'll get 10% off on your order. I think we've all said it, but Mingy is probably the biggest beef jerky brand around this area. I think it's even better than that, and it's a little bit cheaper. You will have to pay a little bit of shipping, but the 10% off definitely helps. So
It is by far the quality of meat. When these
Yes.
guys called us and asked us to advertise and to become an affiliate with them, Jerry and I we don't want to advertise anything that we wouldn't use.
Not only wouldn't use, but do use.
We bought this with our own money.
Yeah,
Like, it wasn't like they just sent us this. We
This
bought
was
it.
what, a $50, $60 order we
Right,
placed
yeah.
last week? Yeah.
The thing with Smoking Gun is it's a mom and pop out of Lincoln, Nebraska. The person, when we set this up, I actually talked to the co-owner to do that.
Yeah.
And he knows the person who packages it. And here's the thing, and I'm sure you got it in your box, Brett. And everybody's different, but to me, this little touch means the world to me. Whenever I order a bag of jerky, there's always a receipt in the bag, and it always has "thank you" and my name.
It's handwritten.
Handwritten. That's something that you don't have to do.
Yep.
You can throw a receipt in the bag and be happy, and people are just going to go on about their day.
Right, you probably won't even look at the receipt.
Right. But to just take the time as your package just to say, hey, thank you, Steve, for your order. To me, that means something. Mm-hmm. And I will say, and Jerry and I talked about it live on Twitch, the quality of the beef, I've never had jerky as good.
100% agree.
So regardless of your flavor, and they have 50 different flavors.
Yep.
So pick your flavor. We're still going through them all to find ours. Jerry and Brett find it very humorous to make me try hot stuff, even though I'm a pansy.
We didn't mean to. There's one called Devil's Heat, and Brett and I were saying, it's got some heat, but it doesn't burn your mouth. It'll build it a little bit. But we recommended Steve try it. He did try the Complete Idiot,
which had my eyes just flowing. I mean,
yes.
I was just, tears were flowing down. Steve was over here just taking it like a champ.
But here's why, and I told him. So the Complete Idiot, I took one nibble and swallowed. I didn't even let it savor in my mouth. And with the Devil's Heat, I actually chewed it because we
talked about it and said it's not very hot, and it really isn't compared to the other one.
But I'm such a pansy when it comes to it. You give me the most sour candy in the world, and I got you. But heat, I just can't tolerate. Mm-hmm. And man, it lit me up. And to me, that's a good thing. It's called Devil's Heat for a reason. You know what I'm saying? They want you to be on fire when you eat it.
It's a really good heat. It's like I would describe it as like a mid to lower end jalapeno type of heat.
So as long as you're okay with jalapenos, which Steve is not, then you'll probably have no problem with Devil's Heat. And Devil's Heat, different from the others, wasn't just heat. It had flavor.
It's super good flavor. Super good. Like I said, it's probably the best beef. No exaggeration. Probably the best beef jerky I've ever had.
So, what are we discussing this week, guys?
We are talking about Appalachian folklore.
Appalachian folklore.
Man, this topic, when we've gotten to be big boys, and we're trying to get better every episode. One of the first things that we did to do that was to sit down and plot out the next 2 or 3 months at a time. And when this one came up, we kind of looked at each other like, what? But we'll put it on there and we'll see what comes up. Got some pretty interesting stuff. Brett, won't you lead us off with like an intro about what Appalachia is and why it's important? Because here's the weirdest thing. I was looking at our stats the other day, and most of our listeners, now we're based in Kentucky, most of our listeners are from North Carolina. Thank you, North Carolina. Absolutely.
Well, we got a great story from North Carolina tonight.
We do.
Weirdly enough, thank you, Oregon. You're number 3 in the list, which, and if you want to go outside of our country, we're in almost 82 countries now.
And isn't that weird, along with Oregon? It's like, why? California was really high for a long time. Why?
When we were first started, Jerry, and you remember this, we were at Podbean as a publisher. One of our biggest followings was worldwide was from Slovakia. I want you to know Slovakia is still number 4.
I'll be darned.
It's United States, Canada, Australia, and then Slovakia.
Wow.
Do you know anyone from Slovakia? Nope. Stephen, I don't.
I do not.
Not a soul. So, as we've said many times before on the show, if you live in Slovakia, send us a message. Give us your address. Let us send you some swag just because you live in Slovakia.
We've also said this many
Sorry,
times.
Australia. You can't send us anything.
Yeah, you can too. In fact, anyone who, for the duration of the next week from the release of this episode, if you send us an email to
Newsworthy with Stephen Jerry at gmail.com.
If you send us your home address, we're going to send you some swag. Let's just do it. Let's do it.
By the way, in addition to thanking the people from Slovakia, I think it's time that we do something that it's time we truly give credit where credit is deserved. And once again, thank Mr. Mike for quote unquote borrowing the company jet
Yeah.
and flying around the world, which
Dude.
I firmly believe is the reason we have so many listeners from Slovakia. Because again, we barely knew what region the country is in, what continent it's on,
Right.
much less knowing someone from there. And suddenly we've got a bunch of listeners from there. It's got to be Mr. Mike.
You just give him a big
Borrowing the
box
jet.
of stickers.
I hate to
just
blow
put
it up
on
to you,
bathrooms.
Jerry, but Mike is almost retired. He doesn't fly unless he has to now.
Well, apparently when he does, he keeps us in mind, is all I'm saying. We appreciate it,
He's
Mr.
got
Mike.
he's got a timer set on his watch right now as
I'm
to when
sure
his
he does.
retirement comes.
I'm
I'm
sure
just
he
letting
does.
you know.
We're just letting him know once again.
So,
Thank you.
Brett, let's get back to the topic here, and let's talk about Appalachia. Tell us a little bit about it for the folks who doesn't know.
So, yeah, for those of you that don't live in the United States, and even those that live in the United States and aren't really 100% familiar with the Appalachia region, it's made up of 423 counties across 13 states, spans over 206,000 square miles, all the way from southern New York to northern Mississippi, contains parts of Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Maryland, Mississippi, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and all of West Virginia. Big area.
Yeah.
Currently, the region contains about 26.4 million residents. The mountains that make up the area started to form between 500 and 300 million years ago with the collision of continents that would become North America and Africa. Mysterious disappearances in the region have been attributed to several cryptids and sparked several conspiracies about the area. Well-known cryptids such as Mothman and Bigfoot are said to have been sighted in the region by countless witnesses. We won't be covering either of those today. However, we do have several other cryptids and conspiracies that are said to be lurking in the region. Jerry's got a huge one that I'm really excited to hear about.
Was that my cue?
That's your cue.
I'm sorry. I thought you were going to
I
go
was
first.
sending it to you.
Hey, before
My
Jerry goes to North Carolina, can I talk about a small one?
Sure.
Okay, because I've got two. I want to kind of loop
Yeah,
them
for
Sure,
around.
go for it.
All right.
Steve's got a good one.
So I want to talk about a really old one. And it goes all the way back to Native American folklore. Now, when we talk about Native American stuff I really dig that because they didn't have airplanes back in the day. They didn't have things that flew when they were telling their stories. So when we hear about things like that, it really, really, I guess, what's the word? Lends credence to something that's been around forever. And in this example, I want to talk about the Moon-Eyed people. It's a legendary group of mysterious beings from Native American folklore, specifically associated with the Cherokee tribe in the Appalachian region of the United States. According to the stories, these people believed to have lived long before the Cherokee and were described as strange, pale-skinned, nocturnal beings. Their legend had been passed down through the generations, and their story was surrounded by mystery and speculation. The tales of the Moon-Eyed people are most closely tied to the Cherokee people, as we discussed, who speak of these beings as a long-lost ancient race. While the exact details of their origin and identity vary across different accounts, there are some very common themes in their story. They have pale skin. The Moon-Eyed people were said to have very light, almost ghostly skin, which set them apart from the darker-skinned Native Americans. They had large eyes. They were described as having very large, round eyes, which were said to be adapted for the night and made them sensitive to the daylight. And because of that, they were nocturnal. According to some versions of the legends, The Moonite people could see well at night, but were essentially blind during the day. This is where the name Moonite comes from, referring to their ability to see in the moonlight, but not the sun. And they were very small. Some accounts suggest that the Moonite people were shorter than all of the other native tribes around them. In folklore, the Moonite people were said to have lived in the Appalachian region, primarily now the southeastern United States, including West Virginia, Virginia, and North Carolina, which I think is why I wanted to push this one in front of Jerry. Just the most common version says the Moonite people were eventually driven out or defeated by the Cherokee. Some versions suggest that they were forced to retreat into caves or hidden places, and there they disappeared from history, leaving only their legends. Some people believe that they were actually some of the earliest European settlers, especially those of English or Welsh descent, and suggested that the Moonite people might be the descendants of those explorers who had arrived in Americas long before Columbus. This theory was partly based on the claim that the Moonite people spoke a language that sounded similar to Welsh. And there's a couple of YouTube videos you can watch on the Moonite people, and the similarities between their language, according to the Cherokee, and the Welsh language are striking. So It's kind of cool. Another view is that the Moonite people were a metaphor, or actually just a symbol in Cherokee folklore, representing an ancient, vanished race or other group of people who were not of their world, either physically or culturally. In this view, the Moonite people might not have been a real group, but rather a way to explain certain cultural phenomena or to teach moral lessons. There are several places in the Appalachia region where the Moonite people legend is often linked. One of the most notable is the Moonite people caves, believed to be located in the southern Appalachian Mountains. Some claims that they are hidden or ruins and might have been left by these mysterious people. Additionally, many people speculate that certain ancient stone structures, mounds, petroglyphs found in the area could actually be the remnants of Moonite people, though there is very little concrete evidence to support these claims. The legend of the Moonite people has persisted for centuries and remains part of a local folklore in parts of Appalachia. It's often referenced in discussions about ancient mysteries, cryptids, and the possibility of lost civilizations in North America. The story has also been featured in books, many documentaries, and other media about Native American mythology. Despite the lack of physical evidence or definitive proof, however, the Moonite people remain an enduring part of the mystical lore involved in the Appalachian Mountains. However, all of that being said, if you see art involving the Moonite people, they look very, very similar to the Greys.
Really?
Yeah. It's creepy almost.
Like from the Cherokee Indians?
Yes.
Huh.
They have stone carvings of the Moon-Eyed people, and they look very similar to what we would consider the Greys. Pretty interesting. Jerry, I didn't mean to cut you off and go in front of you, but I thought that these kind of rolled into what you're talking about today. So tell us about what you're going to go into.
Well, down in northwestern North Carolina, at about the 20-mile marker off Highway 181, not far from the town of Morgantown, North Carolina, there's an overlook that showcases direct views of the Brown Mountains, and you can even see the Blue Ridge Mountains in the background in the distance. They say on a clear day you can see 50 miles away. It's truly some breathtaking views. If you want to see it, just Google the Brown Mountain Overlook, and you'll see some of the most beautiful scenic images of mountains in anywhere in the world, not to mention the Appalachian area. It's also one of the best places where you can see the Brown Mountain Lights, an unexplained phenomenon that's been seen for over 100 years. Now, the earliest published mentions of them goes back to 1912. They're often described as flickering, wavering lights that rise above the summit of the mountain. and then dwindle and fade away. Some say they move rather slowly. Some say that they make quick, almost like firework motions in the air. They've been described as glowing orbs, stars, balls of lights, and they're typically red, orange, blue, even white. Now, before I go further, I want to digress for a second and apologize. Those of you that heard the teaser, you probably noticed that it didn't include the word enigmatic, and for that, I want to apologize. That's a word that Steve truly loves, and I could tell that he was tugging at his heartstrings that I left it out. Now, if you listen to our show for very long, you know that originated because way back when we would occasionally ask ChatGPT to help us with a teaser, it would inevitably always include the word enigmatic, right? It's hung up on the word.
Yes. How does this sound? Newsworthy with Steve and Brett.
Sounds awesome.
Not as good as Steve and Jerry.
But back to the point, since I slighted you, and I apologize for that, to make it up, I'm requesting that every one of our listeners who knows Steve in real life to please begin using the word when you're talking to him, preferably as often as possible. He really enjoys that. I can assure you it will be greatly appreciated. Now, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. The first published reports of these lights appeared in 1912. It should also be mentioned, to be fair, that that's roughly the time period when electric lighting was becoming mainstream in that area. But 1913, 1 year later, 1 year after the first time that it was published, it had caused such an uproar that the federal government sent a United States Geological Survey scientist, D.B. Stewart, to investigate. Now, he quickly found that the headlights of the Southern Railway trains were to blame. For most, the balance, he said, was car headlights and the occasional brush fire. And there you have it. Problem solved, right? Only not exactly. A couple years later, in July of 1916, there was a flood in that area that washed out the roads on the mountain. It washed out the train tracks in that area, and they weren't repaired for several months. But the lights continued to appear.
Oh, wow.
With no trains, with no cars. Not only did the lights continue to appear in 1916, they continue to this very day.
Really?
Really?
To this day. People, Google it. Go on Reddit. You'll see people who are born and raised. It's not like that you see this every night, but people who born and raised in that area, the majority of them report that sometime during their lifetime they've seen it. Most of them 2, 3, 4 times. This is not uncommon.
Wow.
It's been reported being seen by tens of thousands of people. Now, again, to try to be fair, it's kind of like a UFO. UFO stands for unidentified flying object.
Right.
It's almost impossible to not believe in UFOs. There are things that fly that we have trouble identifying. The same can be true of this to a degree, right? There's lights and we don't know exactly where they're from. Well, I would bet in Lawrenceburg that if you went outside and looked around, and if you're up on a high area where you had good visibility, sooner or later you're going to see some lights that you don't have an explanation for. So that's probably at least part of these. All of them, maybe not. Now, the locals weren't satisfied with that original investigation. So in 1922, the United States Geological Survey again sent out another scientist, George Mansfield. He came up with basically the same results. Trains, car headlights for the majority. In addition to the original reasons the government has come up with, he also claimed that part of it was chemical reactions, reflected lights from atmosphere, that type of things. Now, we've talked many times about how the government tends to do this, right? It's just the government's default. Remember when they claimed that debris found in Roswell, New Mexico was from a weather balloon? At least that was the initial story.
Right. Yeah.
We later talked about MK Ultra, right? But forever the government had denied ever being involved in any mind control programs. That seems to be the government's default. They're going to deny anything that could cause distress, anything that could cause the public to be alarmed, they just deny, no matter what evidence is there. Which we've talked about tends to lead credence to these stories beginning to grow. That's part of the reason why when the government comes up with some story that no one believes, it's real easy or it's much easier for conspiracy theories, no matter how wild, to begin to take root. Now, we've talked about what the experts claim. Let's talk about Appalachian folklore. That's what we're discussing this week, right? Let's talk about what some of the locals think. Here are some of their theories. One of the oldest goes back to, as Steve mentioned, Native American times. It comes from the Cherokee Indians, who say that it's the spirits of their dead ancestors looking for lost loved ones from a war that occurred on the mountain. This mountain range was apparently the center line between two warring tribes that fought many battles in and around this area. And their claim is that it's spirits of their dead ancestors.
Why do you think that so many groups around this area fight so much?
Well, the Indians
You got the
tended to be
Indians, and
very-
then you got the Hatfield McCoys. They were in this area. Weird. Anyway, just
Well, the Native Americans constantly fought with each other.
They
I mean,
did.
it was just constant.
crazy, right?
You know, and you mentioned in this area, does it happen in this area more than other parts of the world? When you
Probably
look at
not.
history,
Right. Humanity is
humanity
as
itself is very mean. I mean, how many wars have been fought? How many lives have been lost in the name of religion? Religious wars throughout history. You know, for religions who claim to be peace-loving, God-fearing people, there have been more battles fought over religion than any other thing. So I don't know that it's just this area. I think it's mankind. Another popular local tale tells of a slave who was searching for his lost master with a lantern. They say that these lights are his restless spirit that is still searching. Other tales exist of lost miners who perished in the mountains, and their lanterns continue to flicker as their spirits are searching for a way out. Now, in recent years, these stories have grown to include UFO and extraterrestrial activity, everything from lights as spaceships to hidden bases within the mountain. And still today, over 110 years later from when they were first published, reports of it, tens of thousands of people have reported seeing the lights and still do to this very day. October and November are the most common months. Obviously, they say on a clear night, it's when you will most likely see them. Again, many people have reported going and looking for months till they finally see them. Some people never see them. These lights have been featured on episodes of The X-Files, Weird or What, Ancient Aliens, and Mystery Hunters. Dan Rather and the CBS News crew did a short piece on the lights in 1986. The crew even saw unexplained lights and got it on film. We'll leave a link to the YouTube video of that. It's like a 3 or 4 minute segment. The lights were also featured in a movie called Alien Abduction. It's a sci-fi movie that came out in 2014. It's the subject of numerous songs and books. It actually has its own website, brownmountainlights.com. There's several videos and images of these lights there. So if you're in the western North Carolina area at nighttime, keep an eye on the nearby mountains. You might catch a glimpse of the Brown Mountain Lights.
Interesting.
I was trying to look and see if these, if the Brown Mountain area was on a ley line.
Oh, interesting.
And
Good point.
it's pretty close. If kind of pull it up here, it's pretty close, if not right on it. So that's pretty.
Ley lines.
Like
for-
literally almost. It's actually on the ley line. It is on it. So yeah. If you want to.
Well, I was just going to say that ley lines are, I won't say imaginary, but they are lines that you can't see. Obviously, nobody's taken a pencil and drawn them, but that link several areas of activity, if you will, either alien or paranormal or whatever. And it's pretty crazy how these ley lines connect to a lot of the different sites that we talk
Do you
about.
mind if I just share my screen? Real quick?
Sure, go ahead. Why would I care?
I just want to make sure.
They're also believed to be ancient power sources, right?
Right.
The lines themselves contained.
Can you see my mouse?
We can.
So if you can see, brown. Let's see. The Brown Mountain Range is right here, right.
Can
Right.
you make it a little bigger?
Can I make it here?
There you go.
So it's like right here.
Right on one.
I mean,
It
it's
comes
right.
out of
It's
Bermuda
literally
Triangle.
right on a ley line, which is pretty. It's pretty cool. Because we've been talking about that last couple
ley
weeks.
lines.
So
If you follow our show, then you know that that's a recurring pattern at this point. The ley lines.
and if you look at the ley lines of the United States, there's not much area that doesn't lay on a ley line.
Or close to.
Right. But it's still kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, this incident is right on it.
So, Brett, you have a scary sort of incident or creature that you wanted to talk about, right?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go
Before
ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I researched what's called the Wampus Cat.
Woo!
So yeah. So it originates from Cherokee, like a lot of this stuff. It originates from Cherokee folklore. It's spread up and down the Appalachian Mountains. There's been tons of sightings, which I'll get into. But according to lore, the Wampus Cat was actually once a beautiful woman. The woman in question was married to a strong warrior, and the warriors gathered in the forest before hunting to ask the spirits for forgiveness. The hunters respected all life, but needed to hunt to feed their families. Unfortunately for the lady, these gatherings were for warriors only and was forbidden for women to see, as it should be. I'm just kidding. She wanted to know. That was for Truly. If she's listening. She wanted to know what went on.
You lucky I got guest bedroom. That's all I'm saying.
She wanted to know what went on, so she disguised herself within a cougar skin, then followed her husband to the meeting place. She moved too close and was discovered. The men dragged her to the ritual circle where she was punished. The skin wrapped around her became permanent and she later roamed the Appalachian Mountains forever alone. So sightings of the Wampus Cat have been reported since the late 1800s. In 1918, the Greenville Sun reported a Wampus Cat roaming near Gethsemane. In the 1960s, newspapers reported that the Appalachian Mountains described sightings of the Wampus Cat. In Sherman, Texas, a story claimed the Wampus Cat was seen on the Oklahoma border around 1900. In Albemarle, North Carolina, a mythical cat was reported prowling downtown. In Howe County, Missouri, a Wampus Cat was described as running and disappearing in a second. In Crenshaw County, Alabama, a Wampus Cat was described as the size of a large shepherd dog. So, one description of this Wampus Cat is it's kind of a mix between a dog and a cat. It's a very large cat-looking creature, and its eyes glow. So, I was looking at there's a lot of sightings in Florida, and I just looked up. I'm gonna share my screen here for you guys to see this. So I was looking at a Florida panther. Let me see here. Sorry, it's gonna take a second. All right, there you go. I think that is the Wampus Cat right there. And I'm not saying but it.
That only has 4 legs, Brett.
Well,
Wampus Cat has 6. Come on now.
Listen, when you're scared, you might think the tail is an extra 2 legs. But I think I'm very skeptical of this cryptid. But like I said, there is a lot of sightings of this cryptid throughout Appalachia and even beyond Appalachia. Actually, one cool fact is probably the coolest thing about this cryptid. J.K. Rowling, writer of the biggest book series of all time, Harry Potter, she wrote a short story on her website, Pottermore, called The History of Magic in North America. And she lists the Wampus Cat as a source for hair used in magical wands.
I'll be darned.
And, get this, the American School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, Ilvermorny, which is basically America's version of Hogwarts, has one of its houses named after the beast, and it's called Wampus, which is kind of cool, I thought. So I think the coolest thing about this cryptid is that it's in Harry Potter. I'm not gonna lie, Steve, you might have different opinions, but when I was researching this, it was like, man, these descriptions sound a lot like a mountain lion or a Florida panther, but
Which is a mountain lion.
I mean, yeah, they're basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know where you stand.
Yeah, that's where I stand on the Wampus Cat.
The thing with cryptids that are of that size and of that nature, we covered the chupacabra.
So we've covered some.
Yeah, and
New Jersey Devil was one.
Yeah, that just don't stack up well. They just most often can be explained away by misidentification. I've got one that maybe can't be described or misidentified. Have you all ever heard of the Flatwoods Monster?
I think I have, but couldn't tell you much about it.
So the Flatwoods Monster is a unique-looking individual. If you've ever seen a picture, you'll never forget it. Our good buddy, Easton Hawk, at Easton Hawk Illustrations at Etsy, has actually drawn a picture of the Flatwoods Monster. You can find that on his webpage. Go there, support Easton. He's a great dude, does amazing work. So the Flatwoods Monster is a famous cryptid that originates from a reported sighting in Flatwoods, West Virginia on September 12th, 1952. This creature, if you want to call it that, is often described as an extraterrestrial or paranormal, at the very least, entity, part of a larger body of UFO and alien lore. Here's kind of a breakdown about the key features and the story behind the Flatwoods Monster. The story begins with a group of locals, including two brothers, Edwin and Fred May, and a friend of theirs named Tommy Heyer, who saw a bright light in the sky while playing outside. They thought it might be a falling star or a UFO, so they decided to go investigate. Followed the light into a nearby wooded area where there they encountered a strange, large, glowing creature. Have you've looked up a picture of it? I can see in your face. You can share your screen if you'd like.
Okay, go ahead and talk, and I'll share in a
Sure. The creature is said to have the following characteristics: 7 feet tall. The body is covered in a smooth, metallic or greenish armor or spacesuit. The most striking feature was the large head, as being described as spade-shaped or helmet-like with glowing red eyes. In some accounts, the creature is reported having no visible arms or limbs, and in others it did. Witnesses also mentioned a strange, unpleasant smell in the air at the time of the sighting. The eyes were often described as bright red, intense, which added to the eerie atmosphere. The group was reportedly frightened by the sight and fled the scene, but they later returned to tell others. They were interviewed by local authorities, and the story quickly gained traction, although no physical evidence of the creature or the landing was ever found. The incident became widely reported because in the 1950s, apparently they couldn't report on anything else. And becoming part of the growing fascination with UFOs and extraterrestrial life during the 1950s. Over the next years, various theories have been proposed to explain the sighting. Some believe the Flatwoods Monster is linked to a UFO sighting, with glowing objects in the sky being a craft that landed and possibly even ejecting the creature. Misidentification: some skeptics suggest the creature could have been misidentified with an owl or some other known creature, or in combination with some sort of strange atmospheric phenomenon. Seen this picture, seen an owl, don't buy it. Some people think it may have been just a hoax, or possibly to fuel mass hysteria, or just other exaggerated stories. Others still believe the creature could have been an alien, interdimensional being, or a cryptid from some other folklore. The Flatwoods Monster remains an important part of West Virginia folklore and is sometimes referred to as the Green Monster or the Braxton County Monster. It has been featured in books, documentaries, and various cryptid-related material. The creature has also become a fixture in popular culture, often representing the mysterious and eerie nature of the UFO phenomena. The Flatwoods Monster is part of a larger tradition of Mothman and other cryptid sightings in West Virginia, a state with a rich history of strange and unexplained phenomena. The mystery of the Flatwoods Monster continues to be a topic of fascination with UFO enthusiasts, cryptozoologists, and other paranormal researchers.
There you go.
He's a pretty creepy dude, is all I'm going to say. I wouldn't want to meet that thing.
I would agree.
I wouldn't want to meet I wouldn't want to meet the Florida Panther.
When I lived in
100%
Idaho,
agree.
speaking of the panther, mountain lion,
Right.
when I lived in Idaho, you didn't walk. You were pretty much told if you go in the wood, in the mountains, you don't go unarmed because you never know what's hunting you.
Did you all see the dude that I don't want to get off topic too much, but did you all see the dude that killed a mountain lion with his bare hands?
No.
Oh my gosh, I did see that
Recently?
video.
Well, yeah, super recent, like in the last year.
No.
It's
It's
do that
incredible.
or die.
It's incredible. I don't know how he did it, but he did it.
Well,
Anyways,
so newsworthy time. Let's start with the first one I did. The Moon-Eyed People. We want to hear. Is it worth more or less news?
do you want me to? I guess I'll go and start since I started. But I just hearing it, I didn't hear a lot of. I guess they did have some drawings of it, right?
Right.
Which is cool. Which is cool.
It's sculptures.
Right, and it does, like you said, it sounds like the Grays. I think I'll give it a thumbs up for that because I think that's pretty cool. It is kind of weird that the language maybe sounds a little like the language that the Welsh. I don't even know.
Right.
Welsh. Do they not speak English?
No.
They have their own.
Really? Okay. So, anyways, I think that's kind of weird, but if they have drawings of these creatures and they look like graves, I think that is newsworthy. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up.
I will also give it a thumbs up. As a person who loves stupid documentaries, I've actually seen this documentary about 6 times. There is reason to believe that a ship full of Welsh people, settlers, found this country and actually went to the caves because they weren't very good at building shelters. They weren't very good at adapting to a new place. And the caves offered protection from the weather and from everything else. And over the years, you would adapt. I give it a thumbs up, but I think it only because of the link that the sculptures that I saw reminds me more of Greys than a bunch of Welsh people who have adapted to live in caves.
Right.
So thumbs up for me. Seriously, I don't care.
Yeah, kind of. It's not that it's a thumbs down, but I can't really do a thumbs up. I'm just like, it's getting enough as it is.
Fair enough.
Thumbs
And
sideways.
that's my answer for all these.
He's got the gangster thumbs up.
Every one
No,
of them.
Sideways thumbs.
So,
think
what about
it's good.
yours? The Brown Mountain Lights.
I think same answer for all of them.
Really?
All of them.
Really?
It'd be different. There's tens of thousands of people who saw it. It's not doing anything. It's just a light. If it was abducting people, harming people, helping, if it did something, maybe it's
Yeah, but
just
it's
a
a light
light.
that can't be explained. So I would give it a thumbs up.
I
Especially after seeing
absolutely
that
give it a
picture.
thumbs up.
Nah.
See that picture that you
The
showed?
That's a pretty
picture
cool
that you
picture.
sold
Did
tells
I
me
share that?
No, I don't
didn't,
think you
I?
did. You should
the,
show that.
the
real
picture
quick.
that you showed us before the show is amazing.
So give a little background of that picture. I think that was super interesting.
The picture is, I mentioned earlier, the Brown Mountain overlook. There's a picture on a display there that talks about the Brown Mountain lights. And it has this picture. It was taken by a professional photographer of an unexplained light. And share screen. Well, if I can figure out how to do this. Okay. Share. There.
That's a cool
I
picture.
can't. It's a very cool picture.
It's not a cloud. Airplanes don't do that.
It's time delay, obviously, but look at the movement. I don't know how
Right.
any light that we know of, unless it's a firework. I now get why they say that some of them move slowly, some of them erratically in the shape of firework resembling. I get that when you look at this.
How close
Even
is-
so, go ahead.
I was going to ask, do you know if Brown Mountain, is that anywhere near where they're building the bunkers by any
I
chance?
have no clue.
Okay.
Do you know the address of that?
Huh?
Do you know where that is?
I don't. I just, and no one does. It's just rumored.
Oh.
It's.
I thought they had some locations they were saying,
No.
but I do not. Let me.
I think what's cool about this story too is that you always hear about these sightings and nobody ever gets a picture or nobody ever gets a photo or a video.
Well, there's a ton of photos of this.
And that's what's cool about it.
Or like the ones that I covered today, they happen for a minute and then we haven't seen anything in 40 years. These are continuing to this day.
Right.
No,
That's
yeah.
kind of impressive.
And how for? But also, here's a question I've got: why did they not show up until electricity became prominent in that area? If it's truly extraterrestrial, if it's truly otherworldly, the other world
you see
didn't
that
figure out
picture that
electricity
you-
until we did.
But you didn't see that
I
picture.
did.
There's nothing underneath it. There's
I'm
no
just-
place for
you think-
electrical wires.
Do you think it's just when they started documenting stuff like that?
Possibly. Again, there's some Indian legends that, although not published, the first published ones was in 1912. There's some Indian legends that has similar type things going way back.
Yeah.
Because
you were saying they were attributed as like spirits and things like that, right?
from Indians that were
Right.
apparently for that area. You've heard of how Kentucky was, there weren't many Indian tribes that lived in Kentucky, but tribes came here to hunt and they would to have control of this great hunting area. Well, apparently this mountain was kind of similar. It wasn't a hunting area, but it was a division between two tribes, and they would, in trying to increase their land area, they would also often have battles in that area. So there came the rumors. Yeah.
This started in 1912.
The reported results. Yeah.
So
Published
the
results.
very first Model Ts rolled off the assembly line in 1908. I don't think that they had enough or as powerful enough battery to project these lights into the sky. And I'm saying we're talking 4 years, did this particular part of West Virginia even have roads at that point?
North Carolina.
That's what I'm getting at. Or North Carolina, I'm sorry.
Well, they had not only roads, they had
paths, they had places for
they
wagons.
had roads. They
in
had
4 years
Well,
for
Steve,
cars.
we talked about the fact that in 1916 the flood came through and wiped out the train and
Right.
roads.
Right.
So they had both. So,
I'm not
and
opposed.
they knew that at least part of the lights. Again, this is very reminiscent of UFOs. And I saw one stat that I thought, and it was done by Appalachian State University, has done a ton of research here. They had cameras put up that recorded, I think, 6,000 hours of video footage. A ton of research has been done in this area. Very, very little has been done that can't be explained by
I-
the supposed experts.
Don't deny that. But it's like we always say.
Yeah,
Even
it's
if
at
you take
1%.
98,
I-
97%
I
away,
agree on
One
that.
time. Yeah.
you still have those others.
I agree.
And mountains typically have a greater pull toward things anyway. Mount Shasta out in, is that Washington? Is that Oregon? Mount Rainier, Mount Hayes, or as Hecklefish would say, Mount Mother Hayes in Alaska. Anyway, check that show out if you haven't seen it. The Y-Files is pretty amazing. I love it.
Wow,
So-
House is really good.
It's really good. They do a good job. What about the Flatwoods Monster?
Eh.
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 Jesus, eh. She's been on such a mood
No,
tonight.
it just, yeah. Do you really think, what are we got, if we were to go to all the major news groups in America and say, we need you to dedicate 200 hours in the coming year to any of these, do you think they're going to come up with additional useful information?
Well, quite frankly, if you went to any of the major news groups, no, I'm
All
not
of
going to say that.
I'm just saying all of them, left, right, neutral, all of them.
I want to bring up did you all see that Stephen Colbert clip where it was he was interviewing a CNN reporter, and he was basically like, you guys are an objective news agency, and the crowd just started busting out laughing, and he was like, that wasn't supposed to be a joke. I guess it is.
No. Who was he? A CNN journalist?
Yeah, it was some CNN.
Oh, mercy. So I agree. Flatwoods Monster. I'm going to give it a thumbs down on this one. I really liked the story. I thought it was a cool story, but there's just no additional evidence with it.
I would echo what you
And
said.
it's not like it comes down to a few things. We haven't heard anything about it since. It was a one-time shot. Indrid Cold, which we're going to do another show on it, sort of the smiling thing, that happened over several years.
Right.
Bigfoot, many cultures, many countries,
All over
the world, several years.
Hundreds and hundreds of years.
This one, one time, some kids probably got caught trespassing.
One time
Probably were on
It's-
something
no,
that
nah,
they shouldn't have been
I'd have to
on.
give that a thumbs up.
Listen, I'm just going to say the only time I've ever felt threatened for my life was in Appalachia. And I won't say what part of Kentucky, but I used to
live in Appalachia.
Well, not really. We're kind of like on the very, very fringe of it. I used to, in a previous life, I used to do home health. And I was taking to a place in far eastern Kentucky. I'm going to tell this story because it's funny. And I had to go meet a new client to do a new setup, following the GPS. Now, this was back in the days. I can't believe I'm saying that. Back in the early days of GPS, I had a TomTom or a Garmin, up in the window or whatever.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Now the
I,
truth begins to come to light.
oh gosh. So anyway, so I'm down in the mountains, and this GPS is taking me up the side of a mountain. Okay, no big deal. I'm in an Isuzu box truck, an FRR. People are familiar with what that is. It's a little stub-nosed box truck, 2 wheels on the back. I'm driving up this mountain, and the pavement becomes gravel, and then the gravel becomes dirt. And then I'm just sitting there on top of the mountain, and I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do now? About that time, pow! Ding! What was that? It took me a minute to register. Another one. Pow! Ding! And I realized some guy was shooting at my truck. And I throw it in reverse, and as I just slam on the gas, diesel, whatever. I slam on the gas, and as I'm backing down this road, I begin to realize I had driven right into somebody's pot patch. Like, just all around me, for as far as you could see, was pot. And I was like, holy, and I'm just about. It was a brand new truck. And by the time I got back to the gravel, got turned around and jetted back to this little town that was near it, and I'm not going to name the town online, got back to the town, I had ripped the inside tires pretty much to shreds. I had to get new tires before I could go back to Lexington.
Oh my God.
That's how bad I hit the gas when I pulled out of there. So I called the police. I had to report this because I had 2 bullet holes in the top of my truck. Now, here's the thing. My truck had a 200-gallon liquid oxygen tank in the back. And that,
You got lucky.
yeah, I mean, it was bad.
God was watching out on you.
It was bad. And so the police was like, well, where were you? Where were you? And I'm like, follow this address to this. I gave him my GPS. He's like, okay. So I don't know what happened with that, but that was my worst Appalachian experience.
Wow.
I got shot at least 2 shots hit my truck.
That's crazy.
I drove right in the middle of somebody's pot patch.
They were just waiting. They were like, oh, this.
But that was pretty stupid of them. I mean, what a great way to, unless you know you can kill them, and is it really what you want to do?
Right. 'cause
But
then
what a
you're-
great way to make sure they go straight to the police.
Right. I had to. I mean,
I
I
mean-
got to account for the damage on the truck. I
Yeah.
can't take that.
Right.
You know. Yeah, it was crazy.
Gosh, dang.
Crazy. Interesting.
The fact they got 2 shots out. Oh, man.
I agree with whoever wrote that. The Wi-Fi is very fast to debunk stuff. But anywho. So guys, I'm excited for next week. The week after this show, we're going to have a great. Her name is Julia Marie. She's a medium. She talks a lot. Jerry is overly excited for this.
Absolutely. We always love guests.
So it's going to be a great show. And with that, anything you want to add, guys?
I don't think so. Cryptid 10.
What?
Cryptid 10.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to Smoking Gun Jerky.
And for those of you that know Mr. Lindsay, he loves the word enigmatic. Just saying.
Make sure you
Just
say that to him every time you talk to him.
Multiple times.
I'm going to push you both down the stairs. That was an interesting episode, but our journey isn't over yet. If you stay tuned, we have an exciting bonus story coming up after this commercial break.
Hi, this is Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. When it comes to buying a home, the process can be overwhelming and confusing. With so many options, it can be hard to know where to start. That's why it's important to work with a certified mortgage loan originator. I have the knowledge and expertise to guide you through the process and find the best mortgage option for you. I will work with you every step of the way to ensure that you are getting the best deal possible. So if you're looking to purchase or refinance, please reach out to me at 502-680-0953. So don't take on the stress of buying a home alone. Work with me and I will make your dream a reality. Trust the professionals and make your home buying experience a positive one. MLS ID 448908, DAS Acquisition Company, LLC, doing business as USA Mortgage, MLS ID 227262. This is not a commitment to lend. Additional terms and conditions apply. USA Mortgage is equal housing opportunity.
If you would like to share suggestions for future episodes, an intriguing ghost story, or simply tell us how much you love or hate us, please get in touch with us. You can reach us via email at newsworthywithstephencherry@gmail.com or send us a text at area code 540-709-1318.
And now, back to the story. For tonight's bonus story, we're going to Baltimore, Maryland. Established in 1786, the Westminster Burying Ground is one of the oldest places on the entire list of this book. Attached to a church, it is a graveyard or burial ground rather than a cemetery and contains a veritable who's who of Boston history. There are countless heroes of the 1812 and Revolutionary War buried within Westminster. These include General Sam Smith, James McHenry, and James Buchanan. However, it seems to be the more mysterious burials that excite the visitors. Following writer Edgar Allan Poe's mysterious and sudden death in 1849, his burial could never be just a simple affair. He was originally buried in an unmarked grave at the back of the grounds and remained so there for many decades, until 1875, when local schoolchildren raised money for a memorial through a fundraiser called Pennies for Poe. The children were hugely successful in their project, and a memorial to the late poet was built at the entrance of the grounds. His body was disinterred and reburied beside his wife, Virginia, and his mother-in-law, Maria. Despite having a grand memorial, many locals believe that Poe is still restlessly wandering the graveyard, unsettled now for an eternity. The burying ground is also home to some terrifying Screaming Skull of Cambridge. Reportedly, the skull of an unknown murdered minister is said to be encased in cement with its jaw bound shut in an attempt to stifle its blood-curdling screams. According to the legend, the skull would scream relentlessly and sounded so horrific in nature that the sounds would torment the minds who heard them, sending them into utter and complete madness. And Jerry, if you can't see the light,
Be the light.